Hello, I'm Craig DeRoche, CEO of Family Policy Alliance. Today, I'm joined by a man who's been on the front lines of one of the most significant pro life victories in recent years, Nate Grasz, the president of Nebraska Family Alliance. The reason we're having this conversation is because Nebraska has just taken a bold stand for life. November 6th, 2025, Governor James Pilon signed an executive order directing the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services to deny Medicaid enrollment or contracts even to any provider that performs abortions, including the abortion providers that you might have heard of, like Planned Parenthood. This move ends the flow of taxpayer Medicaid dollars to abortion providers across the state, an historic step in advancing the culture of life. Nate and his team in Nebraska Family Alliance have helped lead the charge on this, partnering with the governor's office, the attorney general, mobilizing the grassroots, their unicameral legislature. We might talk a little bit about that weird thing. But folks, we're honored to have Nate on here. This is what we talked about doing. For those of you who've been here since the 80s, when Doc Dobson founded us, said someday a governor is going to go all the way to ending abortion in his state. That's going on in Nebraska. Nate, it's a privilege to have you on the show.
Greg, it's so good to be with you. It is a great day in Nebraska. You're exactly right. This was a historic executive order. It's really simple, right? Taxpayer dollars should never go to an industry, to organizations, to corporations like Planned Parenthood who end the lives of preborn children in the womb. And with this bold new executive order, from our governor, Governor Pillen, we've taken that stand in Nebraska to say no more. Not a single penny of taxpayer dollars will go to abortion providers in Nebraska. This is something that was long overdue, but we've kept working, we've kept praying, and finally, some things happened, including at the U.S. Supreme Court, that enabled us to help take this really important step forward here in Nebraska, and we're praying that other states will follow, because this is really the Achilles heel of the abortion industry. You look at what they're doing, and they're so reliant on taxpayer dollars, and so this is disrupting their business model. This is not only going to protect Nebraska taxpayers, who will no longer be forced to subsidize the abortion industry, but it protects Nebraska babies. And that's a great thing, and why we were honored to support and stand with our governor and attorney general in announcing this executive order.
Nate Grasz, the president of Nebraska Family Alliance, Craig DeRoche are talking about a governor outlawing public funds for abortion like it's news. Folks, this is how far our country's gone since Bill Clinton was campaigning on lies in 1992 and saying he wanted abortion to be rare. Politicians have talked out of both sides of their mouths for generations on this, and they say they're ending abortion with their right hand, and they open up and get neon signs for it with their left hand. Here in Nebraska, something different's happened. Tell us how you got here, how you thought we might actually be the state that can get rid of any public funding for abortion. Everybody talks about it. We might have a shot this year to do that.
Yeah, well, what you just said, Craig, is really important, right? I mean, we have always opposed taxpayer funding of abortion, but as you said, long gone are the days when even the abortion industry and people like Bill Clinton said that abortion should be safe, legal, and rare. Now they celebrate it, they promote it. Last year, Planned Parenthood and the abortion industry spent over $15 million trying to write abortion into our state constitution as a fundamental human right, alongside the right to free speech and freedom of religion. I mean, that's how much they believe in their cause. They want your tax dollars to fund abortion. And we
Can
said
we
no
pause
more.
for that? I want to pause right there for a second, Nate, because this is what you're doing. And I love that you're doing it. They're trying to say with these moves that this is no longer a political issue, it's a human right. And that's finally meeting us where we think this has been the whole time. We've never thought this was a political issue. We thought it was a moral issue the whole time, right? And they're now saying it's a moral issue. Is that maybe part of why we're starting to win over some of the converts that we're winning over?
100%. For far too long, we've been told that, Christians, people of faith, churches can't talk about political issues. But labeling what are really moral and biblical issues like abortion as political is a strategy to silence Christians on the most important issues of our time. And so I think people they're not buying into that lie anymore. They're looking at it for what it is. People are waking up and saying, absolutely, we can not only talk about this, but we can do something about it. And that's what we're doing here in Nebraska. And here's the hard truth, Craig, is that we have to care more about saving babies than the abortion industry cares about increasing their bottom line. And they care a lot. And so we're going to keep doing everything we can. This executive order is a huge deal, but there's more that we can do because as long as Planned Parenthood and the abortion industry is advocating for a right, a supposed right to perform abortions and end the lives of preborn children, we have to continue to meet them and do everything we can to build that culture of life and love in our state and across our nation.
And folks, this is heating up because we're getting down to the right versus wrong, the good versus evil. I want to talk about the legal steps of how we got here next, Nate. But before we do that, I just want to make an observation of what you just said. The abortion industry is an industry, ladies and gentlemen. That is why they invest hundreds of millions of dollars in electing politicians so the government pays them billions of dollars at a higher margin than Ford Motor Company or Tesla can get for their product. And their product is killing our future, killing off the future of America. But that is what they're doing, and they're celebrating their business. People are waking up this now, and I think that there's two sides. I want to get to how we got here, folks. If the government pays for something, it's remarkably hard to hold the provider responsible, accountable for what they did, right? Because you didn't buy it. If the government gave me an iPhone, they would probably give it absolute immunity, right? But if I go buy an iPhone at Target, I can sue Apple for anything I choose to sue them for. So that's the next phase two of what's going on here too, Nate, was they wanted the right to do this on a crazy evil of killing human beings, and they didn't want to be held accountable for it. So part of what you're doing in Nebraska too is you're saying, fine, do it with your own money if you're such a strong believer in your morality, and we'll see what happens next. Do you believe that civil liability follows government defunding, and is that why some of these abortion funders are pulling out?
Oh, absolutely. That's the critical next step. You talk about that accountability. They've been shirking their accountability for years, not just through taking taxpayer money, but for the harm, obviously that they cause to the lives of unborn children, but to women and to families. And I'll let people know too, this idea, that the abortion industry, Planned Parenthood, that they do all these other things, and that people can go there to get great care. It's just not true. Even the New York Times specifically singled out the Planned Parenthood clinic in Omaha, Nebraska, in a really important piece earlier this year for some egregious, atrocious health and safety violations, things that shouldn't be happening anywhere, let alone in the state of Nebraska. I mean, just terrible, harming patients, just a lack of care, toilets overflowing, unsanitary conditions, sewage backing up into patient rooms, all while they're claiming taxpayer dollars, all while they're saying they're doing all these great things for women's health care. But we know that abortion is not healthcare. There are so many other places that women and families can go in Nebraska and in other states to get real care rather than simply abandoning them to the harms of abortion. And I think you're exactly right. The next step is holding them accountable, having that civil liability to make sure that our citizens, that future generations are protected, and that we're holding the abortion industry accountable.
Absolutely. Now, there's been some key legal decisions, and this is why I bring you on, and the audience knows you're the smart subject matter expert in the legal mind, not me. Medina versus Planned Parenthood. Tell us what happened there in the so what? What does that bring us to a different world, and why we're able to do stuff like this today?
Yeah, this was a huge victory at the Supreme Court from earlier this summer. The Medina case started out of South Carolina, and essentially, as this case worked its way all the way to the United States Supreme Court, it was about whether or not states like South Carolina and other states could remove Planned Parenthood from the Medicaid payroll, and whether or not individuals could sue to try to say you have to allow these Medicaid contracts and dollars at abortion clinics. And the Supreme Court sided with the state of South Carolina and said states absolutely do not have to allow their Medicaid taxpayer dollars to go to subsidizing the abortion industry. And so that that really opened this up. That decision made what Nebraska did possible, and we, Nebraska Family Alliance, we got to be part of an amicus brief with Family Policy Alliance, with family policy councils across the country that was filed at the Supreme Court in that case supporting the rights of states to defund Planned Parenthood. And so this has been, something that's been years in the making. It took a lot of prayer, a lot of advocacy, a lot of really great legal work and strategy and coordination from groups like Family Policy Alliance. But look at the results. When we're praying, when we're voting, when we're engaging, when we're standing for life, we can make a difference. And now, as a result, Planned Parenthood has been defunded in Nebraska, and more states will come.
And they have no recourse in the federal
Yep.
court system, is what
Yep.
you
They're
just said
done.
too, folks. This is what the end of like a 50-year fight looks like when you have won, when the other side doesn't have an avenue anymore to exhaust. And it's been exhausting, Nate. I just want to say how exhausting this has been, because everybody knows I'm a former Speaker of the House from 20 years ago. And pretty much everything I did didn't exist anymore about 6 weeks after, the new Speaker of the House was sworn in. But with this abortion industry, they literally think it doesn't matter that you have to have the three branches of government and that Congress appropriates money and it doesn't matter to them. They literally
Mhm.
think, because they've been treated by the left of center and the media as though they are oxygen or something like that in our country, as though they will go on. Their ability to kill our future is the most important thing. Nate, this is just a huge victory. It's built on the back of a state victory in South Carolina. And now we see another state leapfrogging South Carolina and Oklahoma and
Yep.
Ohio and Alabama and everybody else, and saying we're going to go further. Folks, you're listening to a show that thinks differently than every other national movement in America right now. We think that that's how the answers are going to come and put America back on track. We want to find a really good presidential nominee and vice president and governors in every state. We just read the Bible so closely, we don't think any of them are going to be Jesus. That they're not going to actually be perfect. And so we have to roll up our sleeves and be involved. And our founders thought that the power should be based where we live. And that's why we have 40 state organizations, right? Because that's where the ideas come. That's where the parents and the families need the service. So we're different. Family Policy Alliance hosts an alliance of folks, Nebraska Family Alliance and 39 of their peers, currently have over 400 full-time employees, more than doubled now in the last 5 years since I became CEO here. And as we head toward 2026, many people listening to this podcast and an increasing population of folks in America are saying it's probably the social conservative voters that are going to decide the majority, Nate. And that's us. We own the domain socialconservative.com, literally, at Family Policy Alliance, because we're a Christian organization,
Yep.
but we mobilize because Christianity is a dominant religion in America, Islam, Judaism,
Uh-huh.
just people that are social conservatives. Tell us the health of that movement in Nebraska. People are trying to say that we're the weird people still. We're the gadflies. Is that what it looked like in Nebraska, or do we look like a rising majority?
I tell you, what's happening in Nebraska and in states around the country is unbelievable. The amount of impact and influence that this movement, that social conservatives are having. We're no longer being kept out. I mean, we're being not just asking and having things done. I mean, they're influencers, government leaders. They're coming to us. They're partnering with us, saying what can we be doing, because people are seeing there's something different, and just how effective, not only our organization but this broader movement has been. I mean, great. 3 years ago, Roe v. Wade was the law of the land and abortion was legal in all 50 states. 3 years ago, men were playing on girls' sports teams and you weren't even allowed to question it. And
Right.
just a few
People
years
are
ago,
campaigning on that as a good idea. Right.
right, we had transgender surgeries being performed on kids in the name of gender affirming care. We had zero meaningful protections for children from online pornography and from social media. And if you look at what's happened in states like Nebraska and in states around the country and at the United States Supreme Court, we have flipped every single one of those issues. That doesn't happen by accident. So this is our moment. I think people are waking up, and it's time because our kids and our grandkids are depending on our faithfulness today.
Thank you, Nate. And this is why you guys see why he is the new president of the Nebraska Family Alliance. I'm with Nate Grasz, and he is the president of that wonderful organization. We're talking about Nebraska actually has successfully found all the public money. Folks, it's not just one pot of money, it's a lot. I'm making fun of other governors. It's actually really hard to do, and governors have to work really hard at it. So we're giving Governor Pilon with this executive order a lot of credit. He's first, folks. Copy him. This is what we want. Lives are on the line. The future of Nebraska just got better because of a governor doing this stuff. These are the type of people that we want to support. You talked about the other policies though, and I think they're all connected. This is one of the other things I want to talk about, Nate. You're in, you're not in the baby boomer generation. You're not in my generation, Generation X. You're one of the younger guys coming up. And all these other issues are connected to the rising generation where they're saying, wait a second, how can you say Black Lives Matter? You throw away somebody with a mandatory minimum sentence, but you're not throwing them away with an abortion. How can you say this, but that? And these other issues, pornography, all of them are actually, folks, listening to this show, they're trying to prevent us from being on social media, trying to prevent us from getting our words out because they're all bipartisan, these votes, right? Like when we come down to a lot of these votes like pornography, tell the folks what you experienced there versus say 5 years ago when we try to protect kids and their iPhones of pornography, the reception we get from both parties versus what both parties said 5 years ago.
Oh, it's unbelievable. I mean, 5 years ago, Craig, 5 years ago, we couldn't get a resolution, not even a law. We couldn't even get just a resolution recognizing the harms of pornography. And now, just last year, we passed a law with overwhelming support from both parties requiring online age verification for pornographic websites. I mean, something that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago.
And,
But
and
again, just as we continue, to stay involved, to speak out, the more people that are standing with us, it is absolutely transforming our state and our country. And believe me, I mean, there was a lot that went into passing a law like that, especially behind the scenes. But once you get it to the floor, once you have to take a public vote, nobody. Nobody could stand up and make a good faith argument for why these major pornography companies should be able to knowingly expose kids to obscene, horrible content without so much as even having to abide by simple age verification. And so the fantastic thing about our movement, Craig, is that we're on the side of truth. The other side, when you're talking about the abortion industry, the porn industry, big tech, they have a lot of money. They have all the money in the world. But the one thing that we have that they will never have is the truth. And so as long as we are willing to show up and speak the truth and to do it with love and with compassion, we're going to win. And so it's just a matter of continuing to show up. We trust God with the results, but look what he has done because we have not given up.
And folks, success is building on success. These folks, maybe they're left of center, maybe they're right of center, but they're lost in their libertarian or their economic ways, trying to defend the rights of these companies that exploit children and families. We're educating them. And when they come out of these votes on, say, a pornography, we see how much progress we've made with their courage to vote
Yep.
stronger in protecting the life and the dignity and the civil rights of families with other bills. So it's just wonderful too, Nate. I just want to say this in passing to me. Um, I was on my way up, and I saw Dan Quayle get laughed off stage
Mm.
when he said that pornography was a real thing and it was a root cause of going to send people in the wrong direction. And he literally got laughed off stage in, I think it was about 1987, 89. And that is, folks, the lead issue now, that we start conversations for bipartisan, not like this budget thing that they just did, whatever that Frankenstein is. That was a negotiation where people had to transactionally come together. This is actually shared values. People are saying, after a generation of raising kids with these iPhones, we need this filth off of there. And that is what we're trying to bring to these other industries that are exploiting and hurting people through surgeries and drugs. The pharmaceutical industry goes further than just transgenderism with intoxicating drugs and other things that we're all about. But Nate, it's been a joy to have you on talking about these things. We're going into 26 right now. A lot of people are going to start saying, well, this is the way it always happens in America. So two questions. Is it going to be the way 26, the way it always happens in America, which would be, it's going to be a tough year for the people in power, which are the social conservatives now. And is there a chance for the House of Representatives next year? What would it take to keep the House next year?
Yeah, that's a great question, and look, it's up to us. I mean, we know what the challenges are. It's not going to be easy, but I think again we're seeing the results. People are seeing a real difference in what's working for family. You know that the actual issues that are actually facing families when raising children, and there's been so much ground that we've taken back that we can't afford to go back because we know what it looked like under the Biden administration or a Democrat Congress. And so we have to continue to keep doing the work. We can't take anything for granted. And that's why, again, I believe what Family Policy Alliance, what our movement is doing is so critical because it's simple. We need people praying, voting, and engaging for family, for freedom, and for life. And if we do that, Craig, I think we can not only maintain and keep this progress that we've made, but we can build off of it. We have a lot of momentum, and I think that momentum is going to carry us through next year's election.
Well, it's an amazing amount of momentum coming out of Nebraska. Nate Grasz, Governor Palin, did historical gains in outlawing public money for abortions this very week because of your support. Folks, we are literally just getting started. This just became legal to do in America a couple of months ago. Nebraska was first. We need your help, not just in Nebraska. Nate has 39 other presidents out there. They are the front lines, not Family Policy Alliance. We're the secondary line. Our front lines are where you live. Please get involved if you live in Nebraska with Nebraska Family Alliance. If you don't live there, click on the links below. Go to your state. Get involved today. Time, talent, treasure. They need you.
Yep.
Folks, 26 election is going to be different because there's going to be different people voting that voted in the previous elections. Christians and social conservatives, by praying, voting, and engaging. Nate, you get 5 gold stickers for even saying the slogan there. Folks, we're showing up and we're disrupting the actual pool of people that vote, which means we can win everywhere. Nebraska is fairly right of center, but folks, there are more Christians, enough Christians to vote in California and New York to win going away. So please take the challenge to pray, vote, engage as we celebrate life in the games in Nebraska this week. Stick with us as we go into the new year. We're just getting started. Until then, blessings to you all.